Good morning, children. Welcome to the class. So in the last class, we just completed with the 10th chapter where we learnt about environmental economics, the different types of pollutions, what are the effects of the pollution, causes for the pollution and the effects of pollution, and finally we learnt about few terminologies which are involved in environmental economics or the effects of degradation of the environment under the heading of what is it, acid rain, global warming. Okay, let me take that page. We learnt about acid rain, global warming, and about e-waste. All these are new terms, okay, which are covered under the topic of environmental economics and how to have a sustainable development with respect to the environment quality. And under that we had the goals for sustainable development, almost 17 points we had, and what are the initiatives which are taken to avoid global warming. That is, the initiatives are the green initiatives, that is to plant more number of trees, and to move on to avoid land pollution, soil, air pollution and water pollution, we need to just shift to the other form of farming called as organic farming. And under the organic farming we learnt about a few principles and tree plantation and finally seed ball. These we ended up with that, and the last one, summation of the lesson. Now today we shall go to the 11th chapter. 11th chapter is almost that is almost a general topic, economics of developmental plan, development and planning. What is called as economic development, and the meaning of development. We'll be learning about the meaning of development and the meaning of underdevelopment and the features of underdeveloped countries. What are the approaches which are followed towards economic development? Okay, now before going into the topics of economic development, we need to understand what is the concept of development it refers to. See, development means some big changes in the basic pattern, the structure of the country itself. When some big change or structural changes is being brought towards the growth of the country, then such a thing we call it as development. See, when we are aiming at growth of our country, so towards the movement towards our growth, we are just planning for some making in a very drastic change or a fundamental change, structural change. When we are doing means that we call it as development. Many of the countries have understood the need of the economic development only after the Second World War, and particularly the third world countries. Third world countries means the countries the underdeveloped countries or the developing countries are otherwise called as the third world countries. So these countries almost before the Second World War, they were under the control of the very big nations. They were under the control of either USA or the European countries. And after the world wars and after so much of struggle, they got independence. And after getting independence, each country thought of the development and growth for their country itself. So they formulated various theories and they developed different models so that they could move towards growth and development. So the underdeveloped countries were, these were once the colonies under the England and European countries, where many of the countries that today the third world countries or otherwise the underdeveloped countries were under the clutches of England and European countries. So now they've got awakening and they are moving towards the economic development. Basically, there were two different approaches towards economic development. Broadly, there were two different approaches. One was called as a traditional approach towards development and the other was called as a welfare-oriented approach towards the development, new welfare-oriented approach. First, let us understand what is traditional approach. Traditional approach means if the country which is approaching towards development, if they strictly see that they have to grow only in terms of monetary, in terms of money only, if a country aims at its growth, that is, if they wanted to increase their GDP, GNP, that is their ultimate aim. So all the efforts were taken towards increasing their GNP or GDP, whichever parameters they take for measurement. When such a type of approach is being utilized by any country, you call that approach towards development as traditional approach. So here what will happen is they will produce only goods and services which give them good amount of profit so that they are able to increase their GNP. So by doing this, many of the countries were able to understand that there was a sharp decline in the share of agricultural inputs, because agricultural inputs as such do not contribute much to the GNP. So what they did, they started concentrating more on industrialization, which was yielding a good profit, and thereby their GNP was increasing. So the countries which followed the traditional approach, okay, they were able to increase their GDP, but they had the problem of not concentrating on the people who are at the bottom level. So this was one of the biggest problem. Emphasis was given for industrialization only. Next is new welfare oriented approach. During 1970s, economic development, they redefined the concept of economic development itself. So what did they say was, development should be there accompanied by reduction in poverty, inequality should be reduced, and unemployment should be under control with respect to a growing economy. In this phase, there should be redistribution of income along with growth, and it became a very popular slogan, redistribution with growth. That is, all the resources should be distributed in such a way that it reduces poverty, it reduces inequality, and it reduces unemployment. So many of the new welfare oriented approach had the popular slogan, redistribution with growth. Now, what is economic development? We have the definition given by Michael P. Todaro. According to him, development must therefore be conceived as a multi-dimensional process involving major changes in social structures, popular attitudes, and national institutions, as well as acceleration of growth, the reduction of inequality, and the eradication of absolute poverty. Now let us split up this definition and learn it, because it is one of the important definitions and it might be asked, okay, and it is also a 2-mark answer. You need to mention who has given this definition. Because what is development? It must be conceived as a multi-dimensional process. Conceived means we need to understand this. The idea of development should be understood as a multi-dimensional process. It doesn't include one narrow approach. So much of approaches are there, processes are involved. You call it as multi-dimensional approach, where it has got different dimensions, ways towards development. Okay, what are the different dimensions? It involves major changes in social structures. Okay, these multi-dimensional approaches or processes, it involves so much of big changes. Major changes has to be brought where? In the social structure itself. Okay, in the society structure itself, we need to bring so much of changes. And not only in social structures, but in popular attitudes. Our approached attitude means what? Our approach towards something only, you call it as attitude. So we need to bring the changes in the popular attitudes which are hidden in the minds of people. Next is national institutions. Okay, see, basically our national institutions there should also be huge change. National institutions is also something related to the approaches. Here institution doesn't mean educational institutions and financial institutions. There are certain traditional beliefs which are struck in the minds of the people. That also has to be changed. National institution means, suppose when we are following certain type of culture, but it doesn't have any relevance towards the development, that you call it as an institution. Suppose according to our Hindu living culture, marriage is an institution, because we are bound to live as a family, and family can be created only with the concept or the institution called as marriage. Like this, bringing in changes, okay, with so much of with respect to national institutions. Not only this, as well as acceleration of growth. Acceleration means what? Speeding up of the growth. Okay, we are growing, but if we are growing at a slow pace, we need to speed up the growth of the economy. Next is, by accelerating the growth, we need to reduce the inequality. Inequalities means what? The difference between the rich and the poor. The inequalities also should be reduced, as well as eradication of absolute poverty. Together, we have to concentrate in all these issues. Apart from that, we need to eradicate. Eradication means what? Totally remove something. Okay, so eradicate absolute poverty. Poverty also should be removed from the economy. Now let us see once again what is development. It should be conceived as. Conceived means it should be understood or interpreted or idea as what? Multi-dimensional process which involves different dimensions to approach a problem. What does it involve? Major changes were all in social structures, attitudes of people, national institutions. Apart from that, acceleration of growth, reduction in inequality, and eradication of absolute poverty. This is with respect to the definition of economic development. Now let us understand what is underdevelopment. The underdeveloped countries are, what are they characterized by? The characteristics underdeveloped countries are characterized by predominantly they are primary sector countries. What all comes under the primary sectors means, but agriculture is a primary sector. So predominantly these underdeveloped countries are primary sector oriented countries where they have low income, low per capita income, too much of poverty is there, huge level of inequality in income and wealth is there, and overpopulation is one of the feature, and apart from that capital formation is very low, high rate of unemployment will be there. Technically they will be using so much of backward technology, so backwardness is there, and apart from that dualism is also there. That is, dualism means the existence of two extreme kind of features. That is, in a country there will be extremely rich people, at the same time there will be extremely poor people also. There will be educated people, uneducated people. This sort of extreme qualities existing in a country, you call it as dualism. So these are the features of underdeveloped countries. Next is the same thing is given in the pink color, pink color box also. So the World Development Report, it says that low income countries means their per capita will be $906 and below, and the gross national income per capita will be ranging from if it is middle income countries, it will be ranging between 906 and 11,115. High income countries are reported to be countries where their per capita GNI is 11,106 or more than that. So the meaning of development, it refers to, it is a state of economy where there be huge amount of people, extremely they are low, and huge mass of people are extremely low due to their very low levels of per capita income. Because of that, productivity will be low, and at the same time the rate of growth of population also will be on the higher side. This is the meaning of the underdevelopment. Next is the development, the economic growth versus development. This is a 3-mark question, I think. The different 2-mark, I think, difference between economic growth and development. Generally speaking, development, it refers to the problems of underdeveloped countries, and growth refers to the problems which are dealt with developed countries. Next is the nature and the level of changes. Development, it is a discontinuous process. You could see development in agriculture sector, but there cannot be the same, you cannot witness the same type of development in industrial sector. And likewise, you get the percentage of development in the tertiary sector might be different. So development, it is a discontinuous process and spontaneous changes will be there. Whereas growth, it is a gradual change and a steady change will be there, and particularly in the long run. Next is scope of change. Growth simply means more output. It normally means it is measured in monetary terms only. Whereas development, it is both quantitative as well as it is qualitative in nature. The output per unit is measured. Apart from that, the efficiency is also measured here. So it implies change in the composition of output and also the allocation of the resources. Now this box, this picture, it exemplifies you quantitative aspects. When there is an increase in per capita income, you call it as economic growth. When there is, it is qualitative as well as quantitative. There is increase in per capita income as well as increase in human development also. That is why human beings picture is given there, as well as a growth arrow mark is also given there. Now the extent of change, it is wider concept but whereas it is structural changes observed. You could see this difference in the form of in the table given. The growth deals with the problems of developed countries, whereas development, it deals with the problems of underdeveloped countries. Growth, it is a change which occurs gradually and steadily, whereas development, it is discontinuous in nature and it is spontaneous also. It just like that it happens when there is a big change in this, when structural change is brought, automatically development will happen. Economic growth, it is more measured in quantitative terms. That is why it means more of GNP or GDP. It means more output. Whereas economic development, it not only means more output, but it also refers to the changes in the composition towards the development. And growth, it concerns with quantitative aspects, that is increase in per capita income, whereas development, it is both quantitative as well as qualitative. Growth, we take if we take growth aspect, means it means that we are taking a very narrow approach towards the studying of the problem, whereas if we if we take economic development into consideration, we take the issue or we take the approach on a wider concept. So development is nothing but growth plus some change. This is an important 3-mark answer. You need to learn this differentiation. Instead of learning the paragraph, it would be easy for you to learn the difference between, which is given in the table form. Next is, how do we measure economic development? See, to measure economic development, we need a yardstick to measure how far a country is developing. So, the best yardstick to measure the development of a country is gross national product. What is gross national product? It is the total market value of all the goods and services which are produced in a nation in a year. Apart from that, this includes the income from abroad also. And you need to take out the non-residence income that goes to other country. Okay, the non-residents who are residing in India, their income will be added to the GDP of their country. Like how our income from abroad, the people who send, who are Indians who are residing outside India, that income is added to our GNP, is it? Likewise, non-resident people who are in India, their income should be added to their country's GDP. So, a GNP is one of the criteria or measure or to measure economic development. Next is GNP per capita. That is GNP per capita. It relates to the increase in per capita or real income of the economy over a long period of time. Next is welfare. The measurement of economic development could be considered on the welfare side also, like when there is an increase in the consumption of goods and services by individuals, then you can consider it as a development. Okay, see, for example, when will I increase my consumption? Only when my income is increasing. So, I will be in a better state of position to enjoy better status. So, my welfare is increased when my consumption is increased. So, welfare is also considered to be one of the parameters to measure economic development. Next is the other social indicators. These social indicators are also used to measure the development of the country. What are the social parameters? The basic and collective needs of the people. And the other social parameters like the health issues of the people. If the, happiness index. I think you might have learnt last year in the last 11th chapter, if I am right. Happiness index or human poverty index and the education index. If people are able to consume good health, good education, good sanitary facilities, good housing facilities, and there is a reduction in the social backwardness, all these are considered to be social indicators which are used to measure the development of a country. Next is, what are the determinants of economic development? When we understand the determinants of economic development, we can divide the determinants, or we can understand the determinants under two broad categories, one as economic factors and the other non-economic factors. Whenever I say economic factors, something which mounts to measurement in money terms or monetary terms, those aspects come under economic factors. Under the economic factors, there are 8 economic factors which are responsible or which influences the economic development of a country. Let us see one after the other. First is natural resources. The primary factor which affects the development of a country is the availability of natural resources. See, a country which is abundantly fed with huge amount of natural resources, definitely that country will show a very good economic development. A country which is deficient with natural resources definitely has to depend on other countries for its developmental rates, and the development will not be rapid. Okay, you could only see a gradual development, it cannot see a rapid development. So, Japan lacks natural resources. So, it imports these natural resources from other countries, but it has got high technological resources. Okay, so India is fed with India with larger resources is poor. With respect to technology, only in the recent years we are having good amount of technological resources. Next is capital formation. See, one of the key factor which influences the economic growth or development is capital formation. When capital formation is good in a country, definitely they can go easily towards, it can create huge amount of stocks, capital stocks. These can be either tangible goods or it can be intangible assets also. Tangible goods are plant and machineries, okay, equipments, all those buildings, infrastructures, all those are tangible. Capital can take up the form of tangible assets, whereas intangible goods are something like health, education, research, all those are intangible way of capital formation. Capital formation helps in increasing the productivity of the labor. As a result, what will happen? Production will increase and income will increase. Only when capital formation is there, productivity will be there. When productivity is there, employment will increase. When employment increases, automatically income will increase. When income increases, consumption will increase. When consumption increases, it means that demand is created for the products. When demand increases, automatically production increases. So, ultimately, where is the starting point for development? Capital formation. So, when a country is abundantly rich with capital formation, along with advanced techniques of production, definitely the development will be very faster. They could witness the economic development at a faster rate. Next, the size of market. So, for example, large size of market will definitely stimulate production. Okay, when there is huge amount of market for the goods that are being produced, what will happen? When high market demand is there, automatically production will be more. As now whatever I told you few seconds back, when demand is there, when size of market is large, it means that aggregate demand is high. When aggregate demand is high, production will be high. Production is high, employment is high. When employment is high, income is high. So, this is the reason why many of the developed countries, they go in for international trade. Okay, World Trade Organization is also developed only for this reason, because the size of the market has to be widened. See, just if India is when we do not have international trade, our market is just confined only to India, means definitely we cannot witness growth or we cannot witness development. Only when the size of our market is expanded beyond the national horizons, only then our production will increase and employment will increase. Next is structural changes. Structural change, it refers to the changes with the occupational structure. Any economy, generally it is divided into the basic sectors, that is primary sector, which consists of agriculture, animal husbandry, just a second children, animal husbandry and forestry. And secondary sector consists of industrial production, constructions and all. Tertiary sector consists of trade, banking, commerce, everything. Any economy which is predominantly giving more emphasis for agriculture, it tends to remain backward only. Okay, when the economy gives more emphasis for service sector and industry sector, it can go towards development. Next is financial system. Whenever we say of financial system, It refers to the efficient working of the banking network. If a country has got a very efficient and organized system of banking, that country can grow much faster and development could be very, very fast, because only when the banking sector is functioning efficiently, capital formation will be good. Where a country has got poor banking system, definitely capital formation will be very much lacking. Next is marketable surplus. This topic we have seen last year itself, but anyway, let me just give you a recap of what is marketable surplus. Suppose, for example, an agricultural farmer, he is producing goods and services. Okay, let us assume that there are two farmers. One farmer produces 1000 quintals of rice a month. Another farmer produces 10,000 quintals of rice per month. Now, this 1000 quintals of the farmer A who produces 1000 quintals of rice per month, okay, he will be allocating few quantity of rice for his personal consumption, for his people in exchange of some other commodities, and he will store some amount of rice for utilizing for the next harvest, for the next sowing of seeds or something. Okay, and after all these allocations, out of 1000, he might have only 600 quintals for sale, for bringing to the market. Whereas a person who produces 10,000 quintals of rice, after allocation for all these, for his personal use, for his neighbors, relatives, okay, and for exchanging and for his future needs, for he has to run for the next 1 year, is it, and for the next harvesting, after allocating the same 600 for these purposes, he will be having 9,400 quintals of rice to bring to the market. So, when marketable surplus is high, definitely the family, he could earn a good amount of earnings out of that. So what happens? This raises the purchasing power, it gives increased employment opportunity, and the output is also increased in that agricultural sector. So always marketable surplus means it refers to total amount of farm output produced by the which is cultivated by the farmer over and above his family consumption. I told you what is family consumption and all. So whenever marketable surplus is high, it means that agricultural output is on the higher side. Next is foreign trade. A country which enjoys a very good favorable balance of trade. Favorable balance of trade is what? When the value of exports are more than the value of imports, then the country enjoys a favorable BOT. Or else R minus receipts minus payments, if it is greater than 1, definitely it means favorable balance of payment. So where the countries have good favorable balance of payment and the terms of trade is also very good, it is always towards development. It is always developed. So, and it has, apart from that, when it has got a very good forex reserves and the exchange rate is also very stable, that also determines the economic development. Next is the economic system that the country is adopting. When we learn of economic system, I want you to go to the first chapter. What is that? What are the three economic systems? Capitalism, socialism, and mixed economy. When we these are the four systems, economic system which is followed by different nations. The type of economic system which is followed by different countries will also decide the development of an economy. Suppose, for example, a country is following laissez-faire economy, which is otherwise called as free trade economy. Definitely, it will enjoy a better growth rate when compared to a country which is working under a controlled economy like socialism. So, but in many countries, socialism is also successful, but in practice, when a free trade mechanism is operated, it enjoys a good growth aspect when compared to a controlled economy. So these are the economic factors which decides the economic development of a country, the determinants of economic development. A small recap, because it is a 5-mark answer. Since it is a 5-mark answer, I expect you, the way of writing the answer is you need to explain 5 side headings, 5 explanation side headings with paragraph. Okay, so you can choose the whichever is smaller in size, you can choose that. Okay, but I want you to choose natural resources, okay, size of market, financial system, foreign trade, economic system. I want the full explanation under each side heading. Give all the side headings and explain 5. Okay, this should be your way of writing the answer. So, what are the factors? Economic factors, natural resources, capital formation, the size of the market will decide, the structural changes, financial system, market surplus, marketable surplus, foreign trade and economic system. With this, we are coming close to the, so we are finishing today's class, and the homework for you will be, I want you to write the definition of economic development, difference between growth and development. Next is explain 5 economic factors which determine economic development. Okay, explain 5 economic factors that which are the determinants of economic development. Thank you, children. Have a good day. Bye bye.